Hi, this is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. It's cold and gloomy, lots of snow on the ground, and I just got back from Cancun where I was at Satoshi Roundtable. It was a nice warm 80 degrees, and here I think it's 5 degrees outside, so it's very cold. Anyway, had a great time on the road visiting Suits and Spooks, meeting the McChrystal Group, Echelon Front. That's Jocko Willlink's shop, and a lot of interesting people in the public and private sector, and had a great time at Satoshi Roundtable, talking to all the industry leaders, from Brock Pierce to the and the EOS guys to the Tezos guys to everybody else in between. It's always a nice place where you get to hang out with friends, enemies, and frenemies. And we got to see the overall sentiment, got to talk to a lot of institutional investors, got to talk to a lot of VCs, got to talk to a lot of DeFi vendors and investors. And it's just nice to see that the industry is starting to leave crypto winter and it's starting to enter crypto summer, or at the very least, crypto spring. So I think 2020 is going to be a very big year for everybody, ourselves included. The news of the day is that we pushed out a blog post where we talked about the most significant update to Cardano since the launch of Byron. This was the update of the Cardano node and the update of the Cardano wallet, the Cardano Explorer backend and the web API. So Tim Harrison released a blog post today on the IOHK website. So if you go to our blog, you can read about this update. But basically, these two pieces of software constitute the foundations upon which we are deploying Shelley. And we've been working on this software continuously with a massive team for about 18 months. And so it's really, really good to finally get this out into the general public for the use at the moment by exchange operators. And this will be the node that people will use to upgrade to the OBFT hard fork, which is coming in February 20th for our exchange partners. Moving forward, the most significant retail update, so the things to those who use Daedalus, will be coming shortly after we've cleared the OBFT hard fork, and that's where we take the new Haskell wallet backend and combine that with this node release alongside all the other infrastructure. And that basically means we've completely redone all the code for every user of Cardano, from the exchange to the investor to the Daedalus user. Everybody who holds it, everybody's doing something with it, will be using completely new software, which is really good software. On internal benchmarks, it's about 2 to 3 times faster. It has half the memory footprint. It's a lot of times syncs in under an hour. Wallet recovery is faster. Every component of this software is just really built well. And it's really amazing to kind of see that finally go live. And so this was a major milestone for us, and we're real proud of it. I'd encourage everybody to go to our blog and read about it. And then a little bit more than a week, about 8 days from now, we'll do the OBFT hard fork, and we'll give everybody a nice warning. And we'll probably do a media release and a video next week explaining what the differences are between Ouroboros Classic and Ouroboros OBFT, and how we're going to use OBFT to get us to Preos, which is what we're launching Shelley with. So that's something you guys should look for to drop. And then as we get a little past the OBFT hard fork and clear all those upgrades, because there's going to be a lot of coordination work that we're going to do, then we'll start coordinating the release of the whole bundle, the new version of Daedalus, the new wallet backend, and this new node to everybody inside the entire system, not just the Eurois and the Bitrixes and Binances of the world. We've also been working very closely with our exchange partners about writing some special purpose libraries and redoing some of our APIs and some of our infrastructure so that it's considerably easier to list ADA and basically use ADA's command line side for basically people who want to hold ADA on behalf of others, whether those be custodians, exchanges, wallet providers, cloud wallets, what's going on with Yoroi, and so forth. So those are very tight relationships. In some cases, we're co-locating our engineers in the offices of these exchanges, and we're actually having a great dialogue with them, and they're giving us lots of cool business and technical requirements, and we have a nice feedback loop that's forming. And so in the coming weeks and months, the output of that relationship will result in a major upgrade to the Adrestia framework. So you'll see a better Explorer, you'll see a better wallet, and more importantly, an SDK for those who wish to build things on top of our software. So perhaps their own wallets or perhaps their own user experiences or so forth. Or in the case of exchanges, they wish to list us or redo the listing so that those wallets are more reliable. To give you a sense of proportionality, once this is all done, we're talking about software that conceivably could run 24/7 for weeks, months, or perhaps even years without even having to be rebooted. And even when it has to be rebooted, can do so very quickly. So you should see after this release a significant reduction in wallets that go down for maintenance. Furthermore, we're building these things with a lot of future proofing in mind. So exchanges who wish to participate in staking as a service for customers, similar to how Coinbase is doing that with Tezos and other systems, they'll be able to offer those services to their customers. So if you don't want to stake locally, you, by leaving your ADA in the care of these entities, can choose to have them stake on your behalf. And so we've been having some great communication with our partners about how to accommodate that and what they need on their side to make sure this can be done safely. One of the hallmarks of our ecosystem is that we will support cold staking. So what this functionally means is that you could take your ADA, put it into a cold wallet, and then generate credentials, much like how you would transmit a transaction from a Ledger device to something like Ledger Live, for example. And that is a delegation transaction. And then you can manage delegation preferences from a hot interface, meaning an interface that's connected to the internet. So at no time will the value keys, the keys that actually control the ADA to spend the ADA, ever have to be exposed to the general internet for a person to be able to stake with that value, which is a huge win. And from an operational security side means that the exchanges can offer a lot more, or third-party offers can offer a lot more security to their customers. So it's almost as if you have a custodial account, yet you're able to control it as if it's a hot wallet exchange account. So we're really excited to see that, and we're building that in tandem with our exchange partners, and we hope that as many exchanges as possible offer that service to their customers, because sometimes people are just not in a position where they can hold that asset themselves for a variety of reasons. Maybe they just don't trust their operating environment, or they enjoy the convenience of the exchange. But it's nice to have the ability to do this in such a secure environment that it's almost as if it is an insured custodial environment. So look for that as well. The incentivized testnet is going to get an update sometime today or early tomorrow. Our engineers are just right now finalizing a few things for the Wednesday update. We skipped last week because we're bundling 2 weeks of work in. It's a pretty big update for the new Jormungandr release. And I believe we still are on target for Friday update, where we're going to bundle Daedalus, the new wallet backend, and the latest version of Jormungandr together. If this week's release doesn't fix your ITN problems, probably next week or the week after will have a considerable effect on that. We've identified a collection of problems, and the first batch of those problems we're resolving with this update. And then each week we're going to target another batch, from being locked to a trusted peer to some disconnection issues and so forth. We've noticed that network stability has massively improved. It's gone from the low 40 percentile to about 90%. So the network upgrades we've been doing to the ITN week after week definitely have yielded some dividends, but those haven't quite percolated down to the end user yet because of some of the things with Daedalus and the way that we've upgraded that side of the ecosystem. So Friday will be the first batch of updates for you guys on the Daedalus wallet side. And then every week we'll probably do another update, and we'll just keep tackling batch after batch. And at some point it'll magically repair itself, but not too far off. So apologies for the delays in that respect, but things are definitely moving in the right direction. If you're still having issues, I'd highly encourage you to use Yoroi. They have made massive improvements and upgrades and in a very short period of time, and they've created a very usable, beautiful user experience. So for whatever reason you're having a connecting to network issue on your Daedalus client, and you don't want to wait a few weeks for that to resolve itself, then just transfer your credentials to Yoroi, use that for the time being, and then come back to it in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and download the latest version. And probably very good chance that those issues will finally abate and resolve themselves. So I'm very proud of that team, and we've certainly learned a lot. There's also another blog post that we released last week, which talks about KPIs for the ITN. And Danelle Patel every week has been upgrading our KPIs and the metrics that we're tracking, and we're learning quite a bit from this experience of running the ITN. So do read that blog post, and we'll continue releasing those KPIs on a regular basis, and we may even drag those into the Explorer interface we have for Cardano so that people can enjoy that. Overall, the ITN has been a great success in getting us to that point of getting over 1,000 stake pools, building a relationship with pool operators, and identifying certain key people in the ecosystem that we really need to have a strong dialogue with to make sure that the business side of staking is well understood. There's always more to do, and there's certainly a huge amount of cleanup and polishing to do. But overall, it's been a good experience for everyone involved, if not frustrating at times, which I fully appreciate and understand. But that's the nature of alpha beta software. Is unfortunately it can be frustrating at times, but that's good. Documentation is certainly slated for a huge improvement. We're currently executing a plan internally to build a dedicated team, actually 2 teams, a black team and a red team, to completely redo Cardano docs. And our hope is to have the first major update of Cardano docs done sometime in late March. So it'll go from the 2017-2018 documentation to a completely redone documentation standard. And the nice part is we just have so many wonderful people in the organization and outside of the organization to assist us in this, that we think the quality of the documentation will be massively improved. The way we've been building things makes it pretty easy for us to specify a lot of things that ought to be specified. It's just unification of those things and making sure it's readable and also localizable. It's very important that once documentation solidifies, we're able to translate documentation into core languages like Japanese, for example, which is a very important market for us. So look for that in the coming weeks as well. And we'll try to create a nice feedback loop so that if you find typos, mistakes, the documentation is confusing or incomplete, you guys will be able to give us a heads up about that. We should be able to correct that. We are still working very diligently and hard towards getting dates for the launch of Shelley's mainnet. It looks like the Haskell testnets will be divided into 2 phases. Phase 1, as I've mentioned before, will be strictly for stake pool migration. So the point of that is to get everybody who's currently living in the incentivized testnet and running a stake pool comfortable with redeploying their infrastructure in that environment. And that'll take a little bit of time for people to get used to. Danelle is leading that task force. So once those metrics works are done and we've gotten the final business and technical requirements, functional and non-functional requirements for basically what we need to do to get stake pools where they need to be on the Shelley side, then he'll be working exclusively on that side of the angle, is how do we translate what we have on Rust into Haskell and make sure people redeploy. And this will be a good metric for active stake pools, because it'll give us a very good sense of what we'll have available at the launch of the main network. And then, of course, they'll run it, and that's a great beta test for that Haskell software. Although internal testing is indicating that that software is quite high quality and very stable, and we have a very sophisticated benchmark framework that we use to test what we're bringing to market. So I do not anticipate that the experiences that you've had with the ITN and so some of the instabilities we've had with the ITN will translate over to the Haskell side. I think we should have very mature software even at that early stage for that stake pool migration testnet. Then after we've migrated, we have stability, things are looking good. The next step will be doing a series of updates to get basically people ready for the balance check. So what the balance check will be is we'll be able to enter in your credentials you have from the Shelley, from the Byron mainnet, and the things you've done with the incentivized testnet, and then we should be able to verify your balance, meaning that all the money you have plus the rewards you earned, those things should come together, and you should see that balance accurately reflected in your wallet interface. And of course, there's going to be something, always is something, in either on the our side or the user's side, and the point of this is to get out those kinks. And then once those two things are done, then we have everything necessary for the launch of Shelley on mainnet. So given that we have much stronger relationships and communication patterns with the exchanges and our enterprise actors, we are able to do a lot more in parallel, and that means the testing phase is considerably reduced. And also, given the way we've built the Haskell software, does not require as aggressive QA, because we're doing a lot of the QA up front prior to even bringing it to the customer. Really, a lot of these things are about experiences rather than verification that the software works correctly, and just making sure that people understand what's going on. So I don't anticipate these phases lasting very long, and they will begin rather soon. So towards the end of February, we'll have a firm date set for the first testnet, and that's the stake pool migration. And then when we get to the stake pool migration phase, we'll have a firm date for how long that's going to last and when we'll begin the balance check phase. And when we get to the balance check phase, we'll have a firm date set for the launch of the mainnet. Again, these things are moving rather quickly, and our sprint structure is every 2 weeks. So we're learning, and we're basically getting very accurate estimates as we move forward. But we don't want to overpromise, and so it's really important for us to have accurate dates. Now, my intention is to have the Shelley mainnet launch be in Kyoto, and have a very large launch party, and invite our Japanese community and people from around the world to come, and for our product team to come and our core developers to come. That's where we launched Cardano back in 2017 in Tokyo. It would be really nice to launch Cardano with cherry blossoms around in the most beautiful city in the world, and do it at a beautiful time. So I'd like to do that in spring, summer, and sooner the better, because the cherry blossoms only last so long. So the team is highly motivated. We're definitely all working the same direction. We're doing more things in parallel now than we've ever done in the history of the company. For example, we just had a very large workshop for zero-knowledge proofs in Edinburgh in January 20th. We had another workshop in Belgium just 2 weeks later that discussed Goguen, and we were getting some of the key KPIs and deliverables for the Goguen release. We're having other workshops around where we're bringing developers and product team people together and clarifying business and functional requirements in our product backlog and getting things into our new management structure. So overall, it's just nice to see these things come together. We also are actually bidding out the Ledger update right now and getting bids from 3 different companies to do the cold staking and multi-sig support for Ledger that I've asked for, and make sure that that ecosystem gets carried with us. We also have an identity product that we're building with 12 people who work full-time on it called Prism. And that identity product will formally announce and show you all the cool features and things we've done, alongside a demo of these capabilities in practice, actually tested in Georgia for Cardano come the launch party in Kyoto. So Danelle is also the product manager for that. And so he kind of serves the dual role of the staking experience as well as the identity side of the product. There's a lot of other products that we need to start spooling up and spinning up. We do need an Oracle solution, and we're actually starting to spool some things up in those directions. We're also going to do stuff for payments and layer 2 stuff, and we have a dedicated team that will be transitioned over for that as soon as they're finished with another product that we're closing out. We also have a lot of intention to have a very nice asset issuance framework for Cardano. So there is a group of people that are thinking about that full time. And there's a lot of writing that we have to do, like explaining how our gas model works and explaining how extended UTXO is different from the world state system that Ethereum uses, and so forth. So overall, the parallelism of and the coordination that we're seeing is pretty amazing, and I'm very happy about that. It's nice to see that every few weeks we keep getting goodies come out, and the community is really doing a great job of keeping us accountable, and the community is really doing a great job of making sure that we stay focused and on target. We're also innovating and bringing new technology. For example, we have invented one of the fastest and most revolutionary snarks in industry. It's called Sonics. The paper came out last year, and we had a skunkworks spend over a year meticulously building this, and we should have that finished for the ZK Standardization Summit that the Zcash guys are putting on in London in April. So Vitaly and Eduardo, the 2 people who worked on this for over a year, will be presenting there, and we'll talk a lot about what we've learned about privacy and user updatable CRSs and these things, and kind of the next generation of where that SNARK technology is going, from private computation to recursive SNARK technology. We've also been doing a lot of work in quantum cryptography. We recently, not post-quantum cryptography, crypto to make your stuff secure from quantum computers, but quantum cryptography, so new cryptographic primitives that rely on quantum computers or simulation of them. For example, we just published a paper on one-time use signatures, signatures that you can only use one time and never again. This would be tremendously useful for how we handle proof of stake and the signing of blocks that people commit. So if you are curious of that, look at my Twitter feed. This paper was published February 3rd, and I tweeted about it recently, and you should be able to find that. So we're doing a lot of groundbreaking work on the next generation of cryptography, stuff in zero knowledge and stuff in quantum crypto. And my hope is to try to pull as much of this as possible into Cardano where and when that makes commercial sense. The Cardano Foundation has also started aggressively pushing hard on the CIP process. And my hope is that they should be able to make some public statements soon about kind of the candidate first round of what principles they've pulled together for how they want to handle CIP. We are also hiring a dedicated product manager. We're in the final rounds of interviewing people, and hopefully we should be able to make an announcement soon about the Voltaire product manager, whose job is to coordinate all the different threads we have. The Lancaster Research, Roland Nikov's team, Team Veritas's work, the work we're doing with the Berkman Klein Center, the work we're doing with the European Union, as well as what's materializing now at the Cardano Foundation, and pull all these threads into a cohesive unit. Goguen and Shelley are being built in parallel. Basha will be built by an overlay team, and they will be working in parallel soon. And then what will happen is, as we close the Goguen work, the entire team that was doing Shelley and Goguen work will focus on Voltaire. So we're doing the preliminary work to get all that stuff ready to go for when that team pivots over. So as we exit the summer, Voltaire will be their primary focus, and Basho is being built along the way, and features are being added along the way. Basho includes our sidechains technology, our interoperability technology, and things that will accelerate the protocol. We've gotten our first performance results from simulations for Ouroboros Hydra, and the simulations look good. The exact numbers are still being discussed, but it looks like our TPS rate is in the thousands, and has a lot of room for improvement and scaling beyond that, especially for the types of transactions that we're going to be running through. The base ledger is looking like its performance is somewhere between 50 to 100 transactions per second. So adding this scaling solution on top will give us the capacity over time to become a Visa scale or MasterCard scale system. And we should be able to accommodate both simplistic microtransactions and very sophisticated smart contract transactions within the same framework. And it fits very nicely into the stake pool model that we've constructed for Cardano. So overall, it's nice to see that those research threads are bearing a lot of fruit. The Hydra paper will drop probably publicly after the Usenix submission. So suspect it will probably come towards the end of February, but maybe a little sooner, and likely will come out on ePrint then. So of course, I'll tweet the paper once it's public. So follow my Twitter feed, and likely what we will do is write a blog post about what we're planning on doing with Hydra throughout this year. But overall, I'm very happy with how that research is evolving. I'm very happy that that research is the first time where we have in parallel involved the science team, our formal methods team for simulations, and had a product manager from industry work together to actually make sure that that product was realistic, as opposed to writing a paper, having the paper specified, implementing a prototype, and then going back and revising the research in a more waterfall mentality. So I'm very happy about that. A lot more to do. As always, software. It's the hardest thing you can do, but we're finally feeling good about it. So that's the update. Overall, dates are looking sharp. OPFT still on the 20th, towards the end of the month. We'll give you the dates of the first Shelley testnet for Haskell, the end of life for the ITN. We'll give you the dates for end of life for ITN support, We'll give you dates for when we're going to do the consumer upgrade for the Byron reboot with the new wallet backend. You should notice the exchange is upgrading all throughout February and March, and our partners are upgrading there. We'll also probably do a blog post on transpilation of the Haskell code to either JavaScript or WebAssembly. For the last year, we've been working on the GHC.js project to compile Haskell into JavaScript. We've also been working with Twig on the Asterius project to compile Haskell into WebAssembly. So this makes the Haskell code that we're writing significantly more portable. And we've been in discussions with Emergo about translating their backend from Rust primitives to Haskell primitives, where and when that makes sense, if this compilation can be done. So given that we spent over a year of effort improving those compilation pipelines, we should be able to write some blog posts and some statements about how mature that is. But the advantage of this transpilation is that we'll be in a good position to be able to build one source code base that is very, very secure and nicely constructed that could potentially be used to translate applications into the web browser and translate applications onto the mobile clients. So you don't have to lose the formal methods when you move into the JavaScript world or to the WebAssembly world. And that's a really a nice thing overall for everybody, including our clients, because then we can just focus on building on top of that rather than having to maintain multiple code bases at the same time. I really would rather just stay in the Haskell world for the time being and make sure that everything is good there. There's a little bit of cleaning we have to do on the formal specs on the Goguen side. We're still working on that and integrating the extended UTX model properly. And that'll be ongoing work throughout the spring and summer, but we are seeing some stability in those specifications. We are updating the Ouroboros Chronos paper, and Skotseros will also be coming out soon. That's our paper on dealing with spikes of dishonest majority, and we'll probably be doing some updates on our BFT papers and some updates on the Ouroboros Genesis and Praos papers because we rewrote the classic paper, and we'd like to make the Genesis and Praos papers in line with all the lessons that we've learned as well. And the natural thing to do would be to roll everything up into a monograph or book, basically explaining proof of stake end to end. So these are releases throughout the year that the scientists will be doing as part of a kind of a cleanup phase. Overall, things are definitely looking good. I wish I had more to report on the post-quantum signature schemes. Schwabe promised us some variant of XMSS custom built for us with implementation by the end of January, but we're not quite there yet. So maybe next update I'll be able to say something. And there will be a product update from our product managers this month. Aparna Ju and all the product team will be leading that. And we're still working with Tim on the exact dates, but I would expect to see that towards the end of February. And then thereafter, every month, the product team will be updating you guys. It'll be a very significant update because each aspect of the product, from the Wallet Backend Explorer to the node, to the smart contract side, to overlay protocols and so forth, all these things together, each one has a product manager associated with it. And basically every one of them are domain experts in where we're at, what we're doing, and how we're doing it. So Parna can talk a little bit about how everything orchestrates together, and then each one can provide you guys much more depth than I provide on how these components are working. In a lot of cases, we're actually dragging our product and project management out into the public domain. Many of you follow the weekly updates that Matthias Bencourt does on the Drestia side. These are page-turning updates that I have, and my hope is to get more of our updates into GitHub so you guys can see that. But overall, at least the videos provide something. And of course, Dimitris is still doing his weekly video updates on the incentivized testnet, and we'll continue to do that to the end of the life cycle of that software. And then our hope is that each of the product managers will also provide some regularity in addition to the roll-up once a month that we're planning on doing. So thank you all for listening, guys. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun always giving you guys an update, fun traveling. I will be going to University of Wyoming on the 14th. So if you happen to be in Laramie, Wyoming, I will be there. And we are going to go ahead and publicly announce in a big ceremony with the university our donation to the university for opening up our authentication lab and a Plutus development lab there. So we're going to create some jobs in Wyoming specifically for Plutus developers to go and build some interesting things. We're going to be doing a lot of work with BeefChain while we're there and other partners. And University of Wyoming will be the first university to accept a unique asset. You'll have to wait until the 14th to find out what asset we happen to be giving them for this donation. But they're the first university in the world to accept it. And it's quite a large lab, and we're actually getting matching funds from other entities as well. So I think the total commitment will be 7 figures after it all comes together, and it will give us a great head start to be able to do some amazing things. And we're very proud to welcome University of Wyoming into our research family. That now includes University of Edinburgh, University of Athens, and Tokyo Institute of Technology. Having a 4th major university in that grid is great. And it's our first American university. We've certainly done collaborations before with Virginia Commonwealth University and University of Connecticut and other places, but these were generally collaborations around a particular professor or a collection of people. This is an actual lab. Our brand will be on it. You'll see the butterfly there. And there's going to be a lot of Cardano discussions in Laramie moving forward. And our hope is to eventually have a very substantial presence in Wyoming and write a lot of very good software there. This is also our first foray into the hardware space. So in addition to writing Plutus code, they will be designing a special purpose piece of hardware for the Cardano ecosystem, specifically around authentication at this laboratory. So we're really excited to go and enter that. Alan Kay used to say that people who are very passionate about software generally build their own hardware, and this is no different. And we think that that's a great starting point for a whole litany of applications in the authentication and anti-counterfeiting space, and can really add a lot of value to Cardano. So we will record that presentation. There'll be a speech from me, from the university, and we'll do a lot of press releases and fanfare around that. And it's a great beginning of a new relationship. So we're real proud about it. We've been talking about it for over a year. And I'm real happy to actually see that this is a very applied laboratory where instead of just doing pure theory, we're actually building real life things and writing real software that'll enter production very quickly. So thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, in Boca al Lupo.